Let's go to the next question. Yes. You and then you. Yes.
As a Jewish person, a non-Jewish person will say to you, if you don't believe in Jesus, then who is Jesus to you?
And what if a Christian says to me as a Jew,
Yeah, as a Jewish person as you are,
how would I respond? I got the question. The question is, I'm just repeating it, if a person who's a Christian asked me, who is Jesus to me, how would I respond? So the answer is that I would ask you, well, who is Hare Krishna to you? So that means and they'll go, I don't know. Well, don't you want to find out? Well, not really, because it's very interesting. There's this book that the founder of Jews for Jesus wrote. You'd never think I would quote from it, but anybody who was ever part of Jews for Jesus knows that little booklet called Yeshua. Okay, it was written by Martin Rosen, the founder of Jews for Jesus, who is now getting his big reward. So anyways, he actually spells this out on the back of his book. He says something very interesting. He was a tough character, but he was pretty straightforward. He said, look, if he is the Messiah, then it's very important to know, if he's not the Messiah, it doesn't make a difference who he was. Okay, so first, it is vital to understand there is not a single contemporaneous historian that wrote one word about him. There was not a single non-Christian during the first century that wrote one word about him. We have nothing. So I'm not going to make up stuff. It means there is nobody. And the passage in Antiquities, in Josephus's Antiquities, chapter 18:3, okay, is a forgery. We know it was added later. Everybody knows it was added later. But Josephus was a contemporary. Josephus was born in 37. Josephus was born. He was born in actually a very famous year, the year that Pontius Pilate was removed from authority, in the year that Caligula became emperor. That means he's born after the Christianity is finished. So he's even if you want to empty your brain out and say, I believe that text, which every Christian agrees is either in a complete forgery, or some Christians say, a little remnant of it, some little part of it is authentic. It's nonsense. None of it is authentic. So the point is, to what do I appeal to? I have no clue who he is. The only thing every person should be asking is, are the claims made by the church about him true or not true? If he is the second person of a triune Godhead, then the Torah is psychotic, because there's nothing remotely resembling this. But the point is, the only thing is Jesus the Messiah? Is Jesus God in the flesh or not? If he isn't any of those things, who is Hanuman, the monkey god of Hinduism? I need to know. I never heard any non-Hindu say, I need to know who this monkey god is now, and if I don't know, I'm going to plot. I never heard someone say, I must know who is this monkey god, I have to know who he is, tell me about him, what were his habits, how did he go, what do you think, he's a good person, a bad. We don't care. I wish him the best, I wish him good, I hope he was a nice guy, but it's between him and God, this is truth. So I'm not going to make up anything. There is zero, nothing, no one. The very first person to ever mention Christianity that we know for sure is authentic. And it wasn't talking about Jesus, but it was Pliny the Younger in the year 112. That is an uncontested text, where Pliny the Younger was the younger brother of Pliny the... Yours is so sharp, you're your history. Like an idiot went in a ship to the volcano. I want to get a closer look. I'd be flying in the other direction. Volcano, I'll be back later. Anyways, he went up in smoke. Anyways, why did I do that? I don't know. I lowered myself. Pliny the Younger in 112 did write that there was a sect of Christians who were gathering illegally without permission, without a permit, because in the empire, they were very nervous. They were very nervous about insurrection. So if you wanted to get together and have a gathering of any significant size, you needed permission from the empire. Okay, and Christianity was not a recognized religion, Judaism was. And Christians were gathering illegally to pray. Okay? And Pliny the Younger mentioned that. So he doesn't say that Jesus was born of a virgin, he died on the cross, resurrected. He's just talking about a problem of Christians. This is the first non-Christian source that is absolutely authentic. Okay, it's 112. And do you know 112? 112, what is that? 85 years after the approximately, I guess, what Christians tell us when the resurrection happened. Do you know what 85 years is in the 1st and 2nd century? When the average lifespan at the time was no more than 25, 26, 27 years old. You're going, really? If there was no such thing as antibiotics, how many of you would be alive today? I just a straight question. I look at you right now. How many of you would be dead right now if if no one ever ever discovered antibiotics? The answer is almost all of us would be dead. A few of us would be able to dodge the bullets, and the rest of us would all be dead. That's what the ancient world was like. People lived on a knife's edge. So therefore, if the average American lifespan in the year 1900 was 42. That's in America in the year 1900. People got an infection in their teeth and died. It's really very simple. Okay. In the Civil War, what did people die of? We don't even know how many people died. A great deal of them died of infections. They cut themselves and so on and died. It was nothing. Why am I sharing this with you? Because in that time, a period of 85 years, today, when the average American lives to what, 80 years old or whatever it is, lives to 80 years old, at that time there was multiple generations. It was a huge amount of time. It's not like 85 years today where there are many people alive who were alive 85 years ago and remember it. You understand? So when you ask me who he really was, I wish him the best. I hope he isn't what Christianity says he was, and he didn't say the kinds of things that John put in his mouth, which I'm pretty sure he did. I can only hope so. But there is not a dearth of information. There is zero, not one word. And I would have expected that if what we are told in Matthew 27, that when Jesus rose from the dead, graves in Jerusalem opened up and dead people walked out and then started walking down the streets of Jerusalem and introducing themselves to people, I think the newspapers would have covered it. Okay? All right? So, I mean, you know, and we are told, it's presented in the Christian Bible, that masses of people were like waiting to meet him and greeting him with lulavim on Pesach. I don't know why, they got it kind of mixed up. I don't know, but they're greeting with palm. I don't know, they got the holidays mixed up. I don't know, whatever. So, you know, like thousands of people and thousands of masses and multitudes were following him, and they were lowering sick people from the top of a roof inside because they couldn't get in the front door. You think somebody with their own. This is not like the Congo where no one was writing anything. This was in Southeast Asia, the land of Eretz Israel. This was like a very important place. This was the connection that was the trade route for Africa, Asia, and Europe. I mean, that is it. I mean, this was an incredibly important place. I mean, geographically, it was very important what went on there. Extremely important. You had to control that piece of land to control everything that passed through, that went to Africa, Asia, and Europe. That's the land of Israel, Southwest Asia. By the way, it's a very big continent. What they told us in school is true. I live in Southeast Asia. It's huge. They should have done something about that continent, just to break it down a little bit. Anyways, so the answer is, I wish him the best. But there is no relationship between the claims that the church makes about Jesus and what the Torah says about, and what Tanakh says about Mashiach. And therefore, he is not anything that the church says he is. That's all.
Well, somebody once said to me, do you think of the Jewish people, because I said to the person I was Jewish, and then the question was this man Jesus that we believe in, was he ever a teacher? Do you see him as a teacher to his multitudes of people? And I said to the person something like, if Jewish people believe, Hero Israel, Lord is our God, the Lord is one, that means that there's no other one. It's only God. And the guy looked at me, the person looked at me, oh, that the person wasn't well versed enough in Torah and was trying to ask me more questions, and I really didn't know how to answer.
But the key, I just want to stay focused on your question. If someone asks you who then, if you're not a Christian, who then was Jesus, you have to ask them, why do you not apply this test to Hare Krishna? Who do you really think Hare Krishna was, if he isn't who Hinduism says he is, a deity? That means you don't apply this. You somehow only apply this to Jesus. No, the answer is, if he's the Messiah, it's really important. If he's not the Messiah, then it's completely irrelevant. That's the real truth. I get it. We can go a little longer. It's okay. It's all right. I'll be fine. So we'll do that. And so do you understand what I'm saying? It's not relevant today. By the way, no Christian would disagree with this. Every Christian would admit, if he wasn't the Messiah and he didn't resurrect from the dead, it really is not relevant to us in terms of our relationship with God. Is it historically a curious thing? Yeah. Can we guess possibly what likely might have happened? Well, I could, and I actually construct what probably likely could have happened, because at that time, people who were running around preaching the end of the world is coming, usually got killed for doing that, and got killed by crucifixion. I could do that, but that's complete speculation, and I really try to stay away from speculation as much as possible. But yeah, if you walked around saying that the Roman Empire is coming to an end, that would have been the exact act. If you raped a woman and killed her and robbed a bank, they'd chop your head off. But if you did something that threatened the empire, saying that the empire is going to come to an end, you would be crucified, to make an example of you. And you walked around the walls of Jerusalem. Josephus describes, that's all you saw was crosses. They ran out of lumber. They had to bring more in. Literally, we don't even know the number. Hundreds of thousands of Jews were crucified in the first century because it was the most horrific kind of way. So I could do that, but we try not to, because we want to stay focused on HaKadosh Baruch Hu. But the way to respond is the question presupposes well, if you don't know who he is, then Jesus must be the Messiah and died for your sins. Well, that's preposterous. So what you need to do, that's called in logic a complex equation. If X is true, then Y is true. X here being as if you don't know who Jesus is, then he must be the second person of the Trinity and he died for your sins. What? So what by the way, you're laughing, but is it true or not? It's absolutely true. Is what I'm saying logical? Am I playing a mind game with you? No, this is true. And it goes on because they're in love with Jesus. So they're going, well, tell me who this guy I'm in love with, who talks to me every day, and who is his mother, who I have pancakes with every morning for breakfast in the Philippines and in Sao Paulo. Who is she? I don't know who she is. I have no idea. But for some reason, Mary only goes to the Philippines and to Portugal, and to think because she can't get into Kuwait, they won't let her in the country. Her passport won't let her. Somehow she doesn't appear anywhere in Kuwait, and Jesus doesn't appear to anybody in Riyadh. Doesn't happen. It just so happens that she happens to be prepared to everybody who already believes in her and doesn't believe that. Jesus only appears to people who already believe in them or are on propofol. So you have to go. All right. So why doesn't he appear to somebody who's in Swaziland, who never, into Papua on a big thing, who's walking around in the gotchkas, they're running around over there, they never heard of Jesus. How come they don't appear to him? No, they only appear to people who are, who already live in the Bible Belt. And why doesn't other gods? Why doesn't Hare Krishna appear to it? Hare Krishna. Look at Sai Baba. My gosh, talking about a guy that's a following, guy who resurrected thousands of people from the dead in India. He died not that long ago. We have witnesses, eyewitness account, 30 million followers. This is a guy who just died. That's serious business. This is nothing. But somehow, Mary only appears in Brazil. She only has, she only goes to high hop in Brazil, and that's it. Come on. So it's obviously that people are just loaded in with, Mary, 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 and then they go to sleep, and then they think they had God knows what.
Adon olam asher malach בטרם כל יציר נברא לעת נעשה בחפצו כל אזי מלך שמו נקרא ואחרי ככלות הכל לבדו ימלוך נורא והוא היה